Today, the demonstration is going to be how to take a painting from where it currently is through finishing touches. Let's get started. I hesitate to do this in real time, but I'm going to do it in real time because I must speed through this step. So if you want to see this in faster time, then if you're on YouTube, you can touch the right-hand top side of the screen. Three dots will appear, and you can manipulate the speed. You can go faster or slower. So if this is as painful as watching paint dry, you can speed it up. If you're on Facebook or some other place where this is being posted, you're kind of locked in with me. So we're going to talk today about finishing touches. This is the painting that was finished. I finished this painting months and months ago, but I always felt that it wasn't really finished. I liked the softness of the gradual changes in the values of this painting, but I always felt as I would walk by it or I would enter a room, it just didn't have enough punch for me. So I thought, all right, today this would be a good example of when you take a painting that you think is done, because this painting is theoretically done, and take it a step further in terms of value. And so that's what's happening here. You can see I've made some color dabs. Those are the colors that I'm going to put into the darkest parts of this rose. I think this was a rose. Yeah, I think this is a rose. Sometimes it looks very peony-like, but I think it was a rose. So you can see I've mixed in some ultramarine blue with some alizarin crimson. I'm using a permanent rose, and looks like there's something else. Must be just a permanent rose all by itself as well. So three colors, and this is what I mean when I talk about massing for value, mixing for color. I'm using these three colors to fill in the darkest crevices that I see when I squint my eyes and look at the photograph. And I didn't have the photograph to show you, so you're just going to have to trust me on this. And then look at the before and after and decide for yourself if you think I enhance this with my finishing touches or not. So I go into, often what I will do is I want to get the strongest value range that I can possibly get in a painting, meaning if you look at a value scale which goes from like 0 to 10, I want to see if I can get it to go from 0 to 10. Now 10 will be my white, so I'm already there in terms of leaving the whites of my paper white, but I knew I didn't have anything as dark as a black, maybe that lower right hand corner, but I needed to punch, I felt like I needed to punch it up. This is going to make things more crisp, and it's also going to create, to my eye, what looks like more volume. What I sacrifice by doing this is that I don't have that soft turning of, well, I still have soft turning of edges, but, well, admittedly, there's a softness that's gone, but I like a crisp painting. So, so there are the darkest darks that went in. Now, as soon as you do one thing to a painting, you know what it means? You probably need to make adjustments to something else in the painting. It's kind of similar to, organizing your cabinets or something. So now I looked at what I had as midtones and I thought, well, they're fine in terms of value, but I didn't feel like they were bright enough. So I brought out some cadmium red and also some cadmium red with a little bit of Naples yellow added to it. And I'm going to put that in some spots that are nearby the darks that I put in. So this is careful work, because if I do too much of this, then the overall painting will stop being a pink rose and will turn into a red rose. So I have to look really carefully and think about edges and think about where do I see things begin to gradually get a little bit darker or shift in some way. It's almost like I'm crawling over the image as if I'm an ant. And, an ant meaning an insect, excuse me, and trying to determine where there's a slight change. So that's what's happening now. And I'm using, as I always say, so this is the cadmium red going in, and now I'm going to follow it up with some of that cadmium red with Naples yellow. Now I also know that this could mean that my painting won't work at all, and I'm aware of that too. If you leave something alone, then it's left alone. It wasn't an unsuccessful painting, but for me, especially as the months went by, it just wasn't making it for me, especially when you get that hit. You know, when you leave a room and you come back in, I would walk by it frequently and I just would say, meh, it's close, but not close enough. So also you can notice that this is in real time. When you see my videos speeded up, this is probably as slow as I usually work. So it is kind of slow work. And I think when I'm here right now, I think I'm thinking to myself, oh, this isn't going to work. I can't remember why I was thinking that. I guess I was feeling like it wasn't coming together. Um, but if I leave it the way it is right now, then it definitely won't come together. I need to follow it all the way through to the end. So I'm finding any spots that I can where I can punch up the color. I haven't changed the value. All I've done is establish some shapes within those original value shapes I had, almost as if you're putting in another layer of petals, but they're not layers of petals. What they are is folds and shifts in the original petals. So I'm not sure what's happening right now off camera, but I think what's happening is, once again, once you change one thing in a painting, it means it's probably going to have a ripple effect. Yeah, it does. So I brought out some Viridian and some ultramarine blue because I realized that my background, which originally looked kind of strong, was now looking kind of meh. So I thought, well, you know, you got to follow it all the way through. If you're going to change the original form, then you probably have to make adjustments to the shapes and the colors that are around the form as well. So that's what's happening here with some Viridian. And Viridian was a pretty good choice because it's not gonna dull anything down. It's a see-through color. So anything that I put down before, you'll be able to see through it. So this is pretty safe stuff to do. It's funny to call it safe. As if this is a tight wire act of some kind. You know, if a painting makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just, you know, it's only paint and paper. But I did realize around now I started feeling like, oh, okay, this is what I wanted. There's a crispness here that I respond to, that I kind of like in my paintings. And you can see, take a look at all those value dabs on the left. They're pretty bright value dabs. So even though I thought I was at the end of the painting originally, it wasn't just creating the darks, it was making these other adjustments in terms of brightness and shape. And I thought I was done here, and then I thought, nope, I could go a little bit darker. You know, could I push it just a little bit further? So I'm on the side now. I'm mixing some indigo with some alizarin crimson. And I think I'm going to go for one more very tiny pass to go in and see if I can make those crevices even darker. If I make them even darker, I can create more depth. So that's my goal here. So, yep, here it comes. Yeah, see how dark that dab is compared to all the dabs that came before? That's where I'm going. But if I had started doing that at the very beginning, it would have been too big a jump from that dark because of where I originally was. I was originally kind of in the area of the whole rose was sort of a pastel. So if I had put this in at the very beginning, whoops, the painting just fell a little bit. It would have it wouldn't have worked. I had to build up to this, and you can see from the color dabs how you slowly can build up so that there aren't these big jumps from the darks to the midtones. But again, working carefully and no rubbing, never any rubbing. So I look at shape, and I'm going to plug shape in. And now I'm going to show you the two paintings together. I really think that the second, the finishing touches really worked. And rather than, when I usually videotape these, I kind of rush through the finishing touches, and this was slowing it down so you could really see what the finishing touches look like. I really advise you, if you're doing finishing touches, go away, come back in with fresh eyes, and do them then, because by the end of a painting, you often don't have the same energy. So remember to keep the white to your paper white, your paints wet, mass for value, mix for color. Please join my YouTube channel because that would be fantastic for me. And I will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.